Hello everyone, good morning today. Sunday Adelaja here. Welcome for another day to another. We are actually starting another season today, another series of teaching. I think that was a good finish I had yesterday for the topic of church. So I think we had a good run on that topic, church topic. So I'm through now. So I'm starting another series today, which is going to be a series on how to find yourself, on who we are. A lot of people have asked the question, who am I? How do I discover my calling? How do I discover my purpose? Well, so we are starting that series today. Unlike the normal way I've done it before, which is starting on a Monday. Today I'm starting, today like it's Wednesday. Yes. So I'm starting a new series. And this series is on how to discover who you are. How to discover who you are. So it's going to run for a few days or maybe a few weeks, who knows. So I want to help everybody discover who they are, their calling and their purpose. Unfortunately, many Christians today don't know how to discover who they are. They don't know how to discover their calling. Well, that is what this whole week is going to be about. This and following weeks is going to be about. We're going to be talking a lot about that, how to discover your purpose, how to discover your calling. Who am I? Who am I? And I just finished translating the book. I've written the book in Russian long time, but the book has just been translated now. So I'm just going to be, what I'm going to be giving you is going to be like maybe 1%. Maybe it's going to be just 1% of that message. But so I will encourage you to go ahead and get the book. The book is already on Amazon. I'm sure they will put the link in this our program before the end of the day. The link was put there yesterday. So go get the book for yourself if you want to discover who you are, or maybe you want to help people to discover who they are. And I owe my gratitude for this book to the people who helped me to edit it, because it was translated from Russian to English. So Vania is a lady that helped me in England to do that. So I'm very grateful, and all of us can now. So if you people can, anybody that can edit to good English, there are still some other books that I have in Russian that are not available in English language. So we appreciate your effort. So, and before we start, please go ahead and share the link. Let's go ahead and share this link. Yep, you have the link already for this book. It's on Okada Books, and I think it's on Amazon. Yeah, it's on Amazon, Okada. For people in Nigeria, you can get it on Okada Books, so that's good. And for people in Nigeria, you can get it on Amazon. So, Who Am I? Why Am I Here is the name of the book. Who am I? Why am I here? Who am I? Why am I here? So, we had a turbulent time yesterday, isn't it, when I was talking about tithe. We had a very hot time. And and I've been receiving all kinds of messages after yesterday's message. Some people are grateful, some people are very agitated, some people are very challenged, and some people couldn't believe that I'm the one saying that. But I said I'm not the one saying it; it's the Bible saying it, and I'm just bringing illumination, and I'm just giving it a platform. I'm broadcasting it. So, the truth must be known, and people of God must be set free to live in the truth. So so that is interesting. That is an interesting topic, and I hope it has set a lot of people free, and a lot more people will be free. So if you did not watch yesterday's night's message, you might want to go and look for it. But at the end of the day, we are starting another series today. So the series is Who Am I? The series is Who Am I? Okay, let's go. How do you discover who you are? How do you discover your calling? How do you discover who you are? How do you discover your calling? Well, it's not as difficult as we think. To discover your calling is not as difficult as you think. Discovering your calling is just being careful and to pay attention to details. All right, so today I'm going to give you the most important factor to discovering who you are. And that most important factor is that who you are is hidden in you. Who you are is hidden in your natural desires, in your natural inclination. Yeah, that's a better way to put it. All of us have natural inclinations, and those natural inclinations actually are a pointer to who we are, to who we were created to be. Sometimes we think, and actually in my own language, people have a saying that it is when a child is still a kid, when it's still a toddler or is very small, that you could begin to tell who he will become in life. I mean, there is a great wisdom to that adage, to that saying. It says that we will know a child's greatness, or we will know a child's destiny by its inclinations. That is so true. And all of us have inclinations. Those inclinations is not just saying, like we normally say, that's just me, that's just who I am. But it's a pointer, it's a way of God talking to us. You see, many people think that God doesn't talk to them. But really, God talks to us. God speaks to all of us every day, every single day. But the problem is that we are so used to our own ways, and we are so used to our own lifestyle, that we don't believe that it's God talking to us. And sometimes we think that, if God was to speak to us, then God is supposed to speak to us in some more audible or dramatic way. It's because we are looking at the Old Testament, and we normally use that as the parameter on how God should be speaking to us today. But really, it's totally different. God is speaking to us in a different way today, and God is speaking to us through our spirit, and His spirit is already in us. So it is going to be very difficult for you to differentiate the voice of God speaking to you from your own voice, because your spirit and God's spirit are already united anyway, and so your spirit and God's spirit are already one. And since you are with God, and even if you are not with God, you have a spirit, and God is spirit. So God is not going to be speaking to you from outside, from your physical ear. God is going to be speaking to you from your heart. So God talks to us from our inner inclinations, from our inner intuition, not from visible or outside sources. God speaks to us from invisible inner sources. So how to find who you are? Just pay attention to yourself. Notice yourself. So the first point, I'm going to be giving a lot of points and a lot of emphasis, a lot of lessons on how God speaks to us. But I have a whole book on it, like I said, and we have started advertising the book on my Facebook page. But on this particular platform right now, I've just put the link for you. You can go to follow the link and get the book. The book is like 200 and something pages book, so you can really go in there. But there is much more broader. The book is much more bigger than just answering the question how to find who you are. The book is also talking about things that are hindering us, and how you could fight your weaknesses and the things that are hindering you to become who you are supposed to become. So how do you find who you are? How do you discover your calling? Well, like I said, Your calling is already buried in you. So if you are observant, you will be able to discover who you are and what your calling is, because it's already buried in you. Your calling is buried in every person. The calling of every person is in that person. And like I said, before that person was born into this world, the calling is already in him or her. All of us are already having our callings before we were born into this world. So there is nobody that would, sometimes the way Christians talk about finding your calling and finding your purpose in life, as if we need to find it. That's the way it comes across sometimes, as if we need to look for it. As if, I'm fine, I'm looking for my calling. So how do I know what I'm supposed to do for God? As if, where is it? Where is it? Help me find it. Or some people even pray to God to find out their calling, and they are asking God as if God should now, as if it is now that God is coming up with an answer, as if it is now God is coming up, with something, as if God is just sitting and say, okay, what's your name? Funke? All right, what's your name? Esther? Okay, now Esther, what should I give you? Esther. Okay, let me find something for you to do. Okay, you will become an evangelist. Okay, you are John. Oh, John. Okay, you want to know, right? You want to know what you want to find your calling? You want to find your purpose? Okay, let me give you'll be a businessman guy. Okay, we'll make you a business guy. No, it doesn't work like that. God is not making you who you are supposed to be now. God is not making you to become somebody right now. No. God already made you who you are supposed to be before you were even born. God had packaged you for who you are supposed to be, for what you are supposed to do on the earth while you are still in your mother's womb, even maybe before you were even in your mother's womb. God is such a God of purpose. God is such a God of logic. God is such a God of intent. God is such a a purposeful God that He does everything by plan. God doesn't do everything abstractly. God is not a God of impulse. God is not an impulsive God. God is not somebody that created you to the world and then He say okay, yeah, right. What do I have him to do? Okay. Let's find him a job. No. Your parents could be thinking like that, but not God. Yes, sometimes our parents will create an impression of who God is to us, because our parents will be thinking, okay, let's what should this guy do? Let's make him go to that university because he could get better salary. Oh, medical doctor, yes, doctors are respected, so let him go there. Or all right. He's not good in medicine. He's not good in science. Okay, let's think of him going to, maybe he could become a lawyer. Lawyers get good salary, Or they will say, oh, okay, he could be an engineer because we don't have an engineer in our family yet. Okay, we have this one. Yeah, we have a doctor already. We have a lawyer already, but we don't have an engineer. So you are going to become an engineer. You are going to become a lawyer. You are going to become this and that. But God doesn't behave like that. It doesn't work out like that for God. God is not in crisis. He's not trying to find out what to make out of you. God is not trying to do that. So God already found out and discovered who you are supposed to become before you were created into this world. God is such a God of plan. God is such a God of purpose. God is such a God of planned out intent. God is such a God of planned out purpose that before He even created you, before He even made your dad and mom to meet, He already knew what He was going to do for you and what He was going to create you for. Before even your dad and mom met. The way God does it is because He had a plan for you, and because He wanted you to come here to do something for Him, He causes your father and mother to meet. He causes them to meet so that they could mate and create you, because He already had a purpose and He already has an agenda for you. So God is such a God of purposeful agenda, planned out agenda, that you can't believe it how much God is purposeful, intent. So God is not trying to find out something you have to become, or that, okay, you get better salary over there and then you go. These are just very mundane way of thinking. It's only a human being that can think like that, but not God. So God is a God of finished purpose before even everything started. That is why he called himself the Alpha and Omega. And Alpha and Omega means that, he finishes anything before he even begins it. Alpha and Omega in one instance, in 1 second, is finishing before he starts. He finishes and starts at the same time, meaning he finishes something before he even begins it. So before God created you, he had finished the purpose for which he had created you. Which he was going to create you. He had already planned out that purpose. He had planned out the vision, the purpose, the destiny that he had for you, and he wanted you to come and fulfill. So God does not allow anybody to come to this earth without having a purpose or a plan, a mission for them to accomplish. So you already, before you were even born to this world, before your parents even came together, God already had a plan out purpose for you. God already had a planned out mission for you. God already had a work and an assignment for you before you are even born. But how do I know? The question now is, how do you know that plan and that purpose for God? Like I said, so the way it works is this. Since God already had the assignment he wanted you to do before you were even created, so what informs his creation of you is that assignment. So the assignment and the purpose that God had in mind before you were created informed him about the peculiarities and specifications of your creation. And before you were created, he already knew what he wanted you to do. So he created you with that intent in mind. By the way, I just remember that I didn't ask you people to go and share the link. So if you have not shared the link yet, maybe I did, but I can't remember. If you have not shared the link yet, please go ahead and share the link for this message. So go ahead and share the link. Where you are going to share the link, I will read one or two comments. So I'll be reading the comments while you go share the link. Please go share the link so that you don't lose out on anything. I will read one comment. Ezekiah Olujobi said, Francisca, same happened to me. My father used to pray that I become a lawyer to become a judge. My mother used to tell God that he should use me for his work. Today, I am fulfilling both. What our parents say in prayer can influence us. Well. That's a little bit different from what I'm saying. It could influence you to find out what God already had for you. Samuel says your calling is already buried in you. With proper observance, you will realize the things. Yes, that's what I'm saying. You love doing. You will realize the thing you love doing with a passion. Something you will gladly do even without payment. Yes, but I'm going to get there. Don't worry. You are going to know by the end of this whole thing. You are going to know for sure what you are created for. Nobody will make a mistake anymore. Francisca Graziano said, Ecaro. Wow, that's my language. He's saying good morning. That's an Italian lady speaking Yoruba language. Pastor Sunday, Ecaro, Pastor Sunday. So true. My inclination, my parents said my calling was to become a nurse or play soccer. Well, God blessed me with doing both. I was indeed blessed. Italy loves you. You are an inspiration. God bless and keep you. Amen. Wow, that's interesting. It means they had an inclination into God's mind, into God's heart. They had a feeling into God's intent in that sense. So if you have shared the link, then let's go back to our teaching. So the way it works is this. Since God already knew what he wanted to make you for, he now packages you in accordance to that intention, to that goal that he wanted you to fulfill. He now packages you in accordance to that mission he wants you to fulfill. So because God knew who he wanted you to be before your mother and father even met, because he knew your purpose, your intention, the assignment he wants you to carry out. So for example, the person that God, like these comments I just read now, if God wanted somebody to become a footballer in life, he will package him in such a way that he will play football. So he will package his likings, it will pack differently from the person that God wants to become a medical doctor. So if God wants you to become a medical doctor, you are going to use your hands. But if God wants you to become a footballer, you're going to use your legs. So God is going to package you in such a way that as a footballer, you have a natural inclination to do something with your legs. And if God wants you to become a medical doctor, God is going to package you in such a way that you want to do something with your heart or with compassion or your emotions or with your hand. So the packaging will be different from the very beginning. So God packages us in accordance to our purpose. God packages us in accordance to our calling. God packages us so that we might be able to fulfill the intention, the original intention he had before he even created us. Because God creates us for a certain agenda, for a certain purpose, for a certain goal. So his intention that he had in his mind, his purpose that he had in his mind, informs the way you are created, informs the temperament he puts in you. So God puts a particular temperament in you because of the agenda, because of the purpose he has for you in his mind that you should fulfill for him on the earth. So God packages not just your temperament, he packages you together with your talents and abilities, because he knows that talent is what you in particular will need to carry out that particular assignment of mission or goal that he was creating you for. So he will create you and put in you some specific abilities, skills, and inclinations, and temperament, and talent, so that you will run into that. You will walk naturally into that gift or that that area of calling that God is calling you to. But that doesn't really mean that when you are born you will walk into it. That doesn't mean that when you are born you will definitely identify that calling or that gift. It doesn't follow. And the reason it will not work out naturally, it will not follow naturally that you will identify or immediately recognize your calling, is because you have been when we come to the world, we'll come under the influence of our guardians, of our parents, of our schools, of our environment, of our peers. We come under the influence of the surrounding and environment where we grow up in, and that environment sometimes informs us differently. And for example, if you grew up in a family and your parents begin to tell you from the very beginning when you are small that you are going to become a doctor, you're going to become a doctor, you're going to become a doctor, even though God has called you to become a writer or an engineer or something like that, or a footballer, it will become a crisis for you and for your whole family that you're going to become a footballer when they have been telling you that you are going to become a doctor. So because of those things you have been hearing from the beginning, because of all the word that is been pushing you in one particular direction, it will influence you one way or the other, so much that even though you have some natural inclination, you will begin to doubt your natural inclination. You begin to doubt even if that is from God, and you begin to doubt that maybe you are missing it, and you begin to doubt your abilities, and you even not know how to go. So, and sometimes for those people who are well brought up and who are brought up to respect their elders or to respect their parents, you will just throw away whatever your own thoughts is and embrace the thoughts of your parents and say, well, this is what my parents said. They are the one who gave back to me. They know better what I need. So that could be the problem that is making us to be confused about our callings. So the idea I'm trying to point out to you today is that the number one thing for you to know, the number one point for you to know who you are called to be and what you are supposed to be doing in life, depends on what is already buried in you. The thing that informs your calling is what is inside of you, not what happens in your country. Like some people say that what is the profession that is now moving? What is the in profession now? The in thing now is computer. The in thing now is programming. The in thing now is football. The in thing now is this. The in thing, those are outward things. Those are things that are coming from outside, and those are not the things that are supposed to inform you what your calling is. Your calling is actually supposed to be coming from inside of you. Now, David Otori says, can one receive calling from the dream of the night? Oh, yeah. You are not receiving it, like I said. Again, you are not receiving it. The thing is already in you. You are only discovering it. So there is a difference between finding your calling and discovering your calling. When you are finding it, means you have to look for it. And you are normally going to look for it from outside, as if it is coming to you from outside. But really, your calling is not supposed to be coming to you from outside of you. Your calling is not supposed to be coming from outside of you. And your calling is not supposed to be coming from outside, the outside world. Your calling is already in you. Your calling is already buried in your system. Your calling is in your temperament. Your calling is in your emotions. Your calling is in your likings. Your calling is in your dislikes. Your calling is in your build up. In your build up. In your build up. In your composition. Your calling is already in you. And so even if you have a dream, and the thing is revealed to you in a dream, it is not because God is just coming up with that answer now. It is not because it is just now God is giving you that calling. No, it's just that God is causing you to discover it. And dream is just a way and a means of you discovering it. But it is not the calling that you are getting at that point. The calling was already in you anyway. The dream is just a pointer, something that a tool through which you got it, you caught it. And this is another tool that I'm giving you today. Another tool for you to get and to discover your calling is what I'm telling you today. One of those tools is to look inward. To look inward to your natural inclinations. So your natural inclination is a pointer to your calling. You have to study, look inside yourself, and look for your natural inclinations. If you know your natural inclinations, then you will know that you will look for the professions and the things that go in that direction. Okay, for example, when I was growing up, my grandmother used to tell me, "You talk a lot, you ask a lot of questions," and she was saying, either you are going to become a lawyer, because she was uneducated, but the only thing she knew that lawyers talk. At least she knew that one of lawyers. That lawyers are the ones who talk and argue and ask questions. That lawyers argue and ask questions. That you are going to become either a lawyer and maybe a journalist. So even though she was my grandmother, because she was observing me and observing my natural inclinations, she could tell that I was going to have something to do with talking and reasoning. Because I was asking questions, I was reasoning. So, but she didn't know that is going to be in form of a preacher, because a preacher has to talk a lot as well, and because in our own denomination where we grew up, we were Anglican. Preachers don't talk a lot; you just read a lot. Even the prayers you have to read it. The prayers have been written like 100 or 200 years before the preacher was born. So you in the Anglican church, you read everything. You don't need to talk much. You just read all the prayers. You read the sermon. You read everything. But it was already in me. Even though when I was a teenager, because of intimidation and because of the environment I grew up in, and because of some tragedy that happened, I closed up into myself. But I was not talking much. But when I was smaller, the thing was there that I was supposed to be talking, and my profession and my calling was going to be leading me to talk a lot, or was going to be connected to talking a lot. So which is a natural inclination. Okay, so your natural inclination is where it is the first pointer to your calling, because you are packaged for that calling. So the packaging will tell, the packaging will show, the packaging itself will lead you. The packaging itself will point to who you are supposed to become. So my grandmother, even though she was not educated, but she could tell that my calling in life is going to have something to do with calling and reasoning. And so that answers the question of Apostle Emmanuel Benedict. Apostle Emmanuel Benedict said, can a son take over the calling of his father? Oh, okay. That's a different question. I'm sorry. Call all his of his father. It could be generational, but that son has to know it. It has to be something that he wants to do. It's not just because the father tells him to take over his profession. You know, the son has to find that profession in him, or the father has to be able to help him discover that, yeah, you have inclination to this, but follow the inclination more than following the lineage of the family. You know, a lot of people say, okay, our family is because my father is a lawyer, so I'm going to become a lawyer too. It's easier for me to become a lawyer because that's our family kind of line. You know, it might not always follow. It does not always follow. But for example, if you have 3 kids, so all of them will be lawyer or what? It doesn't always follow. It could be in different forms. So you should rather follow the inclination. The inclination is one of the strongest ways to find out who you are supposed to be. Okay, let's look at how inclination works. Okay, let's look at how inclination works in the Bible. Let's take the example of Moses. Let's take the example of Moses. He had a general inclination to be a freedom fighter. He had a general inclination to be a deliverer. You see, and I'm sure you could tell from, you know, when he saw the Egyptians beating up the Jews, his natural inclination is to go and defend. His natural inclination is to go and deliver the Jewish that's been oppressed. His natural inclination is to go and be a freedom fighter, to go and be a deliverer, to go, you know, and just help. So that talks about his ultimate call. And this was before God appeared to him. This was before God, he knew his calling. This was before God revealed to him what his calling was. But he already had it in his inclination, you see. He already had it in him. So he already had that original inclination to go and, you know, just deliver the people that are oppressed. So if you have that kind of inclination, that is telling you, you know, what direction of calling that God is calling you to. So your desires, your inclinations, your gratifications, your direction of actions, desire, the natural things that you like to do, they point to who you are supposed to become. The natural things that you like to do, the natural gratifications. What do you gratify towards? What do you gratify towards? What do you gratify towards doing? What do you like? What doing? What comes out of you naturally? What are the things that come out of you naturally? Those things point to the fact or to who you are supposed to become. So even as I'm talking right now, you could listen, you could sit down and write some things down. And what you are supposed to become doesn't have to be one thing. You know, you could have general inclination towards speaking, for example. And that doesn't mean you only become a preacher. That could mean that you could become a preacher. That could be also that you could both become a preacher and a lawyer. Or you become a journalist, like I became a journalist. And my journalism is helping me right now in my law profession. So it doesn't have to be just one direction of calling that you must have. You could have more than one. You could, but you must find out those general inclinations and where they are pointing to. The most important thing is for you to know the direction of your inclinations and the directions of your calling. So when we look at Moses, we see that, his calling was buried in him. His calling was buried in his emotions. His calling was buried in his temperament. His calling was buried in his inclinations, in his natural inclinations. His calling was even buried in his anger. It was buried in his passion. So the same way, your passion is a great pointer to who you are supposed to become. And your inclinations, your natural inclinations, your anger even, your frustration could be something that will lead to who you are supposed to become. So our callings are in us already. They are in our hearts. So you don't look for callings from outside. You don't look for your calling in the university. You go to the university to develop your calling. You don't look for your calling in school. You go to school to already develop the calling that you already have. Or maybe you might go to school to discover concrete specifics of the calling, because the inclination, the knowing of it, the intuition of it is supposed to come from inside. Then you might go to the school to discover, okay, for example, you like science, you like working with technical things, and you know that, okay, this could be engineering, but you don't know what form of engineering, because there are so many different. So you might go to school to discover what particular aspect of engineering, but at least you already know that you like to work with technical things and things like that. So, but that will come from inside, originally from you. So our calling is buried in us before we were born. Let me show you another. Let me point out to you another example in the Bible that proves that point, that our calling is buried in us before we were born, and is our natural inclination. That is what leads us to our calling. Let's look into the life of David. You know, David was a special guy, was a special boy. Why? What made him special? It's that same calling that made him special. That same natural inclination that God packaged in him before he was born. So while his brothers will be running away from the farm, he will be the one that would like to go and do what the other brethren of his would like to do. He will be the one that will go to the farm. He will be the one that will go and look for, and do what he was diligent, and it was detailed. It was meticulous, and that was needed because he was going to become a leader. You know, a leader is always proactive. A leader is always looking for something to do. A leader is always leading the way. So when others don't want to go, he wants to go. He wants to lead the way. He wants to go ahead. And a leader is always proactive. A leader is always going forward. A leader is always, showing leadership. It's always going forward to do what other people don't want to do. So we saw that in David. So David was born to be a leader, and when they were telling him to go and be carrying something to his brother as a servant, but his leadership came forward because his own duty was supposed to be a servant and just bring something to the people at war and just bring, just deliver the message and turn his back and go. But when he saw a need, and as a leader, the leadership credentials in him naturally came forward. We began to ask, what is happening here? They told him, and he said, and what will happen to the person who will fight and who will lead the way, who will lead Israel to victory? What will happen to the person who will confront this situation? What will happen to him? What will he get? And what about if I do it? And he was not even a warrior. He was not supposed to be a military guy, but the natural inclination in him of leadership, the natural inclination of him to be a ruler, it spoke for him. So the same thing, your gift will speak for you. Your gifts are in you, and they are speaking for you. If you listen, if you follow your inner leading, if you listen to your inclinations, if you listen to your intuition, you will discover that your calling is already in you, and you will discover that it's not far-fetched. What you are looking for, abroad, is inside you. What you are looking for overseas is right inside your body. It's inside your pocket. It's right there inside your intuition. So we have, all of us have a calling, and we don't have to look for that calling from somewhere or going, some people are going to seminars, from one seminar to the other, to just look for what their callings are or what God wants them to be. But really, their callings are inside of them. And if you go to a seminar, go and listen to my kind of seminar. This teaching needs to be multiplied. If you have not shared this link, I will encourage you to go share this link, because the people need to know this thing. And this is just part one. This is just 1 point. I'm going to give you like 30 points of how you are going to know what your callings are. So your natural inclination is the pointer to what you are called to be, or what God created you to be. God has already appointed you for a purpose before you were born. God has already created you to become somebody, and He already identified that calling even before you were conceived in your mother's womb. So, a case in study is, like I said, the case of David. And why was he fighting all those people all those bear, lion? Why was he fighting the lion? Why was he fighting the bear in the forest? Because there was leadership. He would not run away. A leader is not a runner. A leader is not a quitter. A leader would not run away when he sees a crisis. A leader will confront a crisis. A leader will confront a challenge. A leader will come face to face with the challenges of his age. So when the bear was coming, he was not running away. He was going to confront the bear and bring back victory. He was going to become a leader of a whole nation. The father couldn't get the other brethren to go after the sheep, to go and become a shepherd. But he naturally was going after the sheep to go and shepherd the sheep. Why? Because he was going to shepherd the nation one day. He was going to shepherd the nation one day. Those were indications of natural tendencies, of natural inclinations, of the proof that our calling is buried inside of us. Our callings are buried inside of us. And other examples, examples are all over the Bible that we can discover who we are. Every one of us can discover your calling in a day, in a few minutes. If you sit down, listen to yourself, study yourself, study your natural tendencies, study your natural inclinations, study the things that come out of you naturally, study the things that you gravitate towards naturally, look inside yourself and find out what are the things that I like to do. So, like I said, I have a book. You have my book. The link for my book is on this program. Go and look for it, because it will tell you in more details and with more examples of how to find who you are and how to discover your calling. But the greatest way to discover your calling is to look inside yourself, to study your natural inclinations, your gratifications, what you gratify towards, and things like that. So let's look into another example in the Bible. What about Joseph? Joseph also, you could tell that, his calling, you could tell that it was not something that he was looking for and he had to find it, or God had to come up and, wake up in the morning and give him a calling. He had that calling in himself already, because the Father could see that calling. He could see his natural tendency, and the Father could, tell. So sometimes we as parents will be able to tell just by the inclinations of our children that there is something special about them. Sometimes we might even be able to tell more specifically, the tendencies that they have or what they might end up becoming. But it doesn't always follow that parents are objective, and it doesn't always follow that parents are right. Sometimes parents are more sentimental. Parents just want their children to do what they wanted to do and they couldn't do, and so they want their children to fill in for their failures. But that is just natural for parents. But really, if parents will be objective and parents will study your inclinations, they might be able to tell. Nkem is back. Nkem DK, welcome back. Nkem said, yeah, study yourself, study your strength. Yes. So when you study yourself, or you could even help other people to study you and to help you, to give you a case study about yourself and to help you to discover, to help you ask them questions. What do they see you gratify towards? Where do they see that you are good in? What do they see that you are good in? And what are the areas of strength that they have observed in you? And what do they see that comes out of you naturally? So and that might be able to help you as well to identify what your calling is. Like I said of Joseph had something special in him, and his father could tell. That's why his father gave him that coat of many colors. And but besides that, he was a child still, so there is nothing that he could have done that will make him to have that dream. But the dream is only an indication of what was inside. What was inside of him was coming to his knowledge, to his consciousness. So in our subconscious, we know who we are supposed to become. So it is the thing that was already in his subconscious mind that was coming to his consciousness, and that's why he had a dream. So it's our dreams are always the reality of our subconscious mind, and our subconscious is what is already hidden in us that is coming forward. And there's a scripture that confirms this. Jeremiah chapter 1 says that we already have a calling before we were born. God already decided who you become before you were born. God already knew what you were created for. So you were created specifically to become that person. So you are created specifically for the purpose for which you are supposed to carry out on earth. So it is actually your purpose that informs your creation. It is your purpose that informs your creation. It is because God knows that you are supposed to become a pastor. That is why it made you to go through, to have that kind of passion, to have that kind of compassion for people. God knows that you are going to become a pastor. That's why he gave you maybe that desire to be able to speak and to be able to think the way you are thinking. Or because he knows that you are going to become an engineer, that's why he packaged you with the desire to like technical things and to like science and to like to create something or to come up with something. So it is because he wanted you. He had already determined your calling. He already knew who you are going to become, and it is actually your calling that decided your design. So your design is following your calling. It is your calling that determines your design. Your calling determines your design. Your calling is what determines your design. Actually, or I should say it differently. Your calling determines your creation. Your calling determines your packaging. God always decides who you are going to become before he starts creating you. God has decided who you will become before he even started your process of creation. So if you are a nurse, for example, God already knew that you are going to become a nurse, and that is going to become your life calling before he even created you. So he now puts in you some specifications and some abilities, some feelings, some temperament, some emotions, some likings and dislikes, some talents and some abilities that now should point you and make you to be able to carry out that assignment as a nurse. So your purpose precedes creation. So your purpose actually preceded your creation. Purpose precedes creation. So you are created now to fall in line to your purpose, with your purpose. You are created to now line up with the purpose that was already predetermined for you. So the scripture that confirms this is Jeremiah chapter 1. Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 5. Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 5 says, "Before I formed you in the womb," even before you were formed in the womb, "I knew you." Before you were born, I sanctified you. I ordained you a prophet to the nations before you were born. So why, before you were in your mother's womb, God already knew who he wanted you to become. And while you are still before you are even born, he already predetermined your calling. So in the case of Jeremiah, he already ordained him even. Ordaining is anointing him for something. He already anointed him to become a prophet to the nations while he was still in his mother's womb. So it's the same with all of us. So none of us is created just to become, to just bear children, or to just sleep with a man and be having children. That's not your creation. That's not your purpose. You have a purpose greater than that. Those are biological, things, natural things that happens, like just biological tendencies. Those are not eternal purposes. God creates every one of us for eternal purposes apart from natural physical things. And that eternal purpose is supposed to have some consequences on earth and in heaven when you die. Because it is that thing that now determines your reward in heaven, what you are created for. So some people are now worried and say, "Oh, I'm not married," or "I'm single." It shouldn't bother you at all. It shouldn't even bother you. If it's part of God's plan for you, if it's one of the things that you have to do, it will come naturally. You don't even need to look for husbands. You don't even need to look for wife or something like that. It will come to you naturally. But you should rather be looking for what you are created to become. You should rather be looking for what God he had in his mind before you were created. What he saw in your creation before you are formed in your mother's womb. You are supposed to be concerned about what is the challenge that God wanted you to resolve on the earth for which he created you. You are supposed, because every one of us, God already saw the problem and the challenge that we must resolve on the earth before we were created. So God saw a particular problem on the earth. God saw a particular situation on the earth that you must address. And that is why he decided that your mother and father should mate and that you should be created. He decided that you will be created. You will come to the earth to come to address that particular situation that he saw. So God was seeing a situation, God was seeing a problem, God was seeing a circumstance that he needed somebody to address, and as a result of that, he went to create you as an answer to that particular problem before you were created. So you are a creation. You are created for a purpose. You are packaged for a solution. You are packaged to address this particular situation here on the earth. That is what happened. That's what we saw with Moses, you see. Because the children of Israel were crying to God, they were appealing to God for help. They needed a deliverer. Before even that was like 200 years before Moses even came to the scene. Maybe 100 years before Moses even came to the scene. So they were crying. When the cry of the people got to God, God now decided to package Moses to become the deliverer. So now God decided to create even the mother and father of Moses before they were even the mother and father of Moses was even created. So God had seen the problem that Moses was going to address 100 years before his mother and father were even created or born. So God has packaged you intentionally. Anybody that God allows to come to the earth, he sends them here on earth because he had seen something that we are supposed to address. But sometimes when we go astray, and God knows that we have lost it so much, and we have gone so much away from what we are supposed to address, he allows some tragedy to occur. Sometimes these tragedies bring us back. But if Satan sees that you have so much gone away from what you're supposed to do, and then he could kill you. But if you are in line with what you're supposed to do, if you are pursuing your purpose, and it's impossible for him to kill you. A deliverer can never be destroyed. But you can kill yourself as well if you are running away from the opposite direction of what God wants you to be. So we could say sometimes that people are good. Oh, why should such a person die young? He was such a good person. He might be a good person in the wrong direction. It might be a good person pursuing the wrong goals, but we are supposed to be pursuing the purpose for which God created us. So your purpose, your intention, your calling in life, your destiny in life is actually buried in your inclination, in your natural inclinations, in the things that you like to do naturally. So, because you were already packaged to come and do that thing, you were already created specifically. You were packaged with gifts, with temperament, with likings and dislikes. All those things were packaged in you for the purpose that He was creating you for, and for the assignment that He was sending you to the earth for. Everybody is here for an assignment. There is nobody that is here just for a holiday. There is nobody that is here just to be a fan or a follower of another person. You are here for your own purpose and for your own vision. Well, friends, I see that my time is coming to an end already, so I want to challenge you to go and share this link. Please go and look for your share button and share the link for this message. And I want to also hear from you your thinking and your conclusions and your lessons. What are the lessons you are taking for yourself from this message? So go ahead and write what your questions are, what your conclusions are, or what your lessons are. So as you are writing your lessons and your conclusions, if you have not shared the link, go ahead and share the link also, and I'll be reading what you are writing. Okay. Patricia Agbino said, if your purpose is not in line with God's purpose, you go through unimaginable pain and frustration. Yes, that's true. That's true. No matter what you are doing, you'll be frustrated. Fumi Jeboda said, thank you, sir. I've been dealing with this for a while. Thank God. Evangelist Amish Samuel says, I'm evangelist, but your prayer for me and my family is a blessing. Okay. Ezekiel Olujobi said, you are very correct, sir. I ran into crisis in my life. Somebody is asking, Samuel Kalu is saying, can calling be generational? Yes, it can be, but not necessarily. You have to really be careful before you make it generational. Eric Lindu says, yes, we just have to discover our calling, not to find it, because it is already in us. Our calling is inbuilt in us. Yes. Joe Olufemi said, very correct. Your calling is innate. I caught that. Tosin Ajayi said, Pastor, please, what is the difference between purpose and ministry? Purpose is what you are called to do. Ministry is the way you are doing it in such a way that it will glorify God, and that you are using that thing you are called to do for God's purpose, for God's glory, for God's to minister to people, to touch life, to touch ordinary people with God's love. So whatever you are doing should be a ministry. Ministry is when you are purposefully, intentionally doing it to touch people's lives and glorify God. James Mson said, good morning, Pastor Sunday. At the devotion with my family this morning, I told them that we need further and applied Christianity. What you are teaching now on calling and purpose is truly applied Christianity. What you are teaching now is, on calling and purpose is truly applied and further Christianity. You are a blessing to our generation. You have us Nigerians really proud. May the Lord engrace you more and more and more, from Abuja, Nigeria. Thank you so much. Okay. Grace Church says, good morning, Pastor. Thank God for your wonderful work. Please, can we have your branch in London? Because most of the churches here are not telling us the truth about tithe. I'm going to Nigeria now. Asumuga Christian say, what if you found yourself doing one particular skill, not actually that you discover it as your calling, but due to the situation of things as of that time? Can that person develop it as a purpose if he or she loves doing it? Yeah, you can still develop skills. Apart from your calling, you can still have your hobbies or your likings or your skills that you develop or things you just like doing. But that shouldn't stop you from going ahead to look for your real calling and to discover what you are really made for. So still go ahead and develop that thing you have, and you can be multi-talented and discover many skills and use them for the good of God and the glory of people, and for the good of people and glory of God. Jami Sola Pajo said, I'm listening to your message right now. God bless you, Dr. Sunday Adelaja. Okoro Irene said, beautiful message. Felista Leonard, great word, sir. Olukayode Ekundayo says, sir, can your environment influence your calling? I mean the decision on which profession to explore. In Nigeria, there seems to be only 3 professions: doctors, lawyers, and engineers. Parents push their children in this direction. Yeah, I mentioned that already. Godwin Ibekwe, leaders are proactive, not reactive. Leadership potential manifests in the face of responsibility. Your gift and inner leading will speak. Rochelle White, this is amazing. What a blessing you are. Ikeshuku Nwadiashi says, your passions, your likes and dislikes, the problems you like to solve, the need you yearn to meet, all these are pointers to your assignment on earth. Yes. Omolade Taye Adegoke said, great teaching. Anu Ojo said, purpose precedes creation. Yes. Samuel Kalu said, yes, your calling determines your creation and packaging. No one is supposed to be a mediocre in life, yes. Okay, Udo said, it is our purpose that inform our creation. So there is none that is a product of accident. God made us to occupy effectively on earth, solving problems. Moses Aluko said, you are only a star at your own spot. If the eagle decides to jump into the sea to swim like the shark, it turns out to be a miserable failure. That's good. Well said. Adewale Emmanuel, we are created to impart our word. Yes. I'm an answer to my word. Ufoma Onigoro said, God sees the end from beginning. Yes. Emmanuel Alote Anna said, very sound and profound. Winnie Atta Machine says, so people starve in this world, no clean water, rape, pillage, the innocent, is that your God's will? Well, this person is asking if starvation, rape, pillage, and all those things happening in the world, war, is that our God's will? No. It is because people are not discovering what they are supposed to address. There are some people who have already been created to address all these problems. But if they don't pursue their callings, and then that's why we are having those problems existing. And that's why they are multiplying. But there are people who have been called and created to address every of these situations in life. But that's why we must teach this topic for people to discover who they are. Simon Allen says, should a pastor also have a full-time job on the side? Yes, before he becomes independent, before the church will be able to sustain him, yes, he should have, definitely. I personally believe that a pastor should have a job until he has over 500 people in his church, or maybe 1,000 people. Nikki Christian said, thank you so much, Pastor Sunday, for this topic. My story was direct. I believe my story was different. I believe if I had studied engineering, my dad wanted me to do, then I guess I would not be fulfilling my God-given gift and calling. Yeah, a lot of parents lead their children astray. He was engineering lecturer. Our parents meant good for us, but sometimes it could be very negative to what God has buried inside of us. Most parents push their children to do what they want them to do, not what you have passion for. I discovered my God gift when I have my second son. Wow. And the passion grows more when I lost my dad. My dad was in the right direction, encouraging his children not to work for anyone, but deep inside of my dad, he wanted me to study engineering because he was a lecturer in engineering. I didn't have passion for that, but thank God I learned a lot from him, which is helping me today. He had a mind of his own, and I guess I got that from him. I am fulfilling my purpose today, and my passion is growing more and more. Okay. Olufkemi Olashode said, there is a problem God created me to solve. Yes, there is a problem God wanted me to solve before he created me. Yes. Grace Labaran says, sir, from London, do you know one Mabel Yemisi Adelaja? She lived in Kano. Well, that Mabel or Mabel, it's familiar. Apostle Yomi Onakpade said, I believe the whole world need to know that the greatest discovery is discovering who God has made you to be. Yes, that's the greatest discovery. That is Apostle Yomi Onadipe. Shegun Imane, thanks to God Almighty for an impactful message. Thank you. John Ifeoma Majiku said, how do you know and also channel your children into the purpose and plan God has for their lives? Well, that's why you should get that book. It's called Who Am I? The link is, I put the link here on this platform right now. And also, you follow all these teachings. They will help you to be able to discover the callings of your children. Omotosho Tokwe Joseph, we are not designed for ourselves alone, but for meeting the needs of humanity. I love your lifestyle, sir. You are living for people, sir. God bless you, sir. Ojo Puelumi says is more like the design of a car. A car is designed to move on land. When it moves on water, it falters. Your purpose is so natural. You flow. You just flow. Yeah, that's so true. Omotosho Tokwe said, inclination is not alienation and acclimatization. Sir, when are you coming to Nigeria? Well, I'm coming to Nigeria soon. And if you are not if you have not yet registered for my Nigerian project, go to my blog, sundayadelajablog.com. sundayadelajablog.com. You can see the Nigerian project there. Go and register if you want to follow me to Africa. Asara Joseph said, Pastor, I need you to speak just a word from me to pick up my visa on Monday. These are words. I've spoken a lot of words today. Take it by faith. Field Marshal said, thank you so much, Pastor. Pastor, I don't know where we got it from, but we tend to or have been taught poorly to run from God's purpose or even wanting to find out, because somehow God's calling and purpose for us have somehow for us have been equated with poverty, things we won't at all desire, etc. And so people have come to conclude, maybe secretly, that God's purpose is limited to pain, pulpit, and some other funny ideas we have concluded on. I thank you for enlightenment. I just pray to God to make my purpose more clearer, and I will go wherever He sends me. Because you have inspired me now to excitedly want to do whatever it is God created me to do. Well, the thing is that if your purpose is not clear, you need to study that direction of your inclination. Like I said with the engineering, there is mechanical engineering, chemical engineering, electrical engineering, all kind of engineering. But when you know that you at least you must know the direction. Your inclination will tell you the direction, that it's not medicine, it's engineering. Or for example, it's not school teacher, it's engineering. So, but then you have to go to study the subject of engineering. The more you know about the subject, the clearer your purpose becomes. Teju Ojo said, Sir, I have been ministering, but what if you minister and some sponsored people came to molest you in the ministry through verbal accusations? What should I do? Bless them, and just disregard them. Jane Agbontine said, thank you, sir, for these wonderful messages. I'm blessed with it. Thank you. Stephen Femi Omotocho said, God bless you, Pastor, for this great work. Which Bible college did you attend? I didn't attend any Bible college. I attended God's college. Omotocho Tokpai said, divine purpose is the medication against mediocrity. We are blessed not to be abused. Okay, Udo said, this is great and always on point. More grace as we join hands to transform Nigeria and Africa. L. Vigil Otito Morgan Ibekwe, what if the people around you and in charge of you have failed to realize you have a vision for yourself and limit you? Well, you speak for yourself. Decide your own destiny. Don't leave it in the hands of other people. Ike Shukunwade, she said, the discovery of purpose and the pursuit of it is where a life of fulfillment begins. Frustration and suicidal tendencies can come when men live far away from their purpose. They may make a lot of money, but end up miserable. Yeah. Thompson Abigail, can God tell a pastor not to work, only to do the work of God? No. God cannot say that, because Jesus himself worked and Paul himself worked. So what God is talking to him. Echo Ngomba said, Sir, if a person dies and his purpose he did not fulfill, does God assign someone else in the place of that person who died? Yes. Even if you are alive and you are not fulfilling your purpose, God still assigns other people to do it. Moses Ugo Aluka said, you are only a star at your own sport. Yes. If the eagle decides to jump into the sea to swim like the shark, it turns out a miserable failure. Right. Rob Ruggiano said, next level, shit. I ask nothing more than for us all to realize the definition of who we are. That is all that matters. One's road will only be clear when one refuses the noise coming from other places. Taiwo Buraimo said, can God tell you to leave all and go for your calling, working in his vineyard? No, he doesn't have you to leave all. You can be working in his vineyard and doing things for him and still be doing other things. Marshall Esong said, what a timely message. I'm actually watching with my girls right now and talking about it. I'm looking forward to more about this topic. Thank you. Thank you too. So you have my ad here, the announcement of my book. You can get the book on Amazon, on Okada Books for those in Africa. So it's called Who Am I? Why Am I Here? How to Discover Your Purpose and Calling in Life. All right, everybody. We have a nice time with you. I will continue the topic of how to discover who you are tomorrow. Tonight. We'll see you tonight. God bless you. Have a wonderful day. Bye.